Sure. Well, I'll take your word for it.
All right, you go first.
All right. Well, this guy over here on my left is the inimitable Joseph Chiaffi. He has been doing the weather now for about 40 some odd years on radio and television. And now the lucky people who subscribe on the Verizon system see him, Verizon Fios 1 News, both in New Jersey and also on Long Island. Sir.
He's Joe Rayo, Lower Hudson Valley. I wonder, where are you going with all this?
Thank you. Well,
good evening, everybody. Welcome to our attempt at a nightly show. Some nights we get to it, and some nights we don't. There were nights, just to be honest, there were some nights after a long day where my head's splitting wide open, and we just don't, you don't always feel like doing it. So, but we're energized tonight.
It was a minute, but that it was killed off a minute.
Can I just do a quick rant?
Sure.
Okay.
Rant.
So
rant away.
Just like this probably goes on the long list of things that folks say that I really didn't pay a whole lot of attention to until getting all involved in Facebook over the last 5-6 years, and you start to see things over and over again. For example, every October, the most epic winter ever in the history of mankind is going to happen this winter. Come December, everybody says you start seeing all the winter is over posts.
Right.
Then January and February have something resembling normal winter. March comes along, and people complain that winter is continuing, and now, of course, it's get extended into April and May. And I've been seeing and hearing it's so cold. It's another cold April. So I checked every reporting station, the climate, because today's May 1st, so the whole month of April's done. I checked all the reporting stations around the New York City area, and guess what? Every single one of them finished between 2 and 3 degrees above average.
Yes.
Okay? Above average for the month of April. Now, southern New Jersey, southeastern Pennsylvania, Delaware, 4 to 6 degrees above average. All right?
Mm-hmm.
I checked around Boston, 2 to 3 degrees above average. Are you getting this idea, folks? So this illusion that this April has been a cold month, yeah, we've had cold days and we've had volatility, but when you average it out over the 30 days, we've had an above average month, which I think compares to last year, which was we had a below average April, if I remember correctly.
Right.
But it's funny how everybody kind of gets married into these perceptions, and somehow spring is a time of year where, or any season, whatever the season is, that suddenly you come to a certain magical date, you flip this magical switch, and the weather is just so glorious and warm every day, and there's nothing but sun, and it rains only on the flower beds and nowhere else. I mean, it just doesn't work that way.
It doesn't. And if you were to ask the average person in the tri-state area about this past winter, they probably would tell you it was a bitter cold winter. And actually, what turned out was that December was very mild. Much of January was very mild, but it was from late January, those final days of January, through February, that averaged well below normal, or somewhat below normal. So when you add it all together, in as much as many people believe that this past winter was very, very cold, it actually averaged out 1.2 degrees above normal. Nationwide, actually. You talk about all those frigid days in Chicago.
Oh, yeah. And you know what? You can argue, by the way, and I think it's legitimate to say that you could sort of look at that range between temperatures that are, say, maybe 2 degrees above average and 2 degrees below average as where the vast majority of your seasons are going to fall.
Right.
Well, your winter season, because your numbers are bigger. You could have much bigger anomalies in the wintertime than you do in the summer. But my point is, if you're in that range of, say, +2 to -2, that's where the vast majority of the winters occur anyway. So you could certainly make a case that if it's a little bit above normal, that it's basically normal. If it's a little bit below normal, it's basically normal.
But you can have a warm winter. But all you need is about a week or 10 days where the temperatures were like 0, or wind chills were like 20 or 30 below 0, and everybody will remember that, and everybody will say automatically that was the winter.
Yeah.
So,
Also, just back to my original point in a bigger context, and this is something that I have had a trouble with in conversation and in discussion. In the whole, without getting into the specifics regarding climate change, but just talking about the fact of how how you can market a concept and get people to basically accept what's ever being put out there with regards to just working on their perceptions.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
I get a kick out of kids I call them kids under the age of 20 who haven't lived long enough to experience an entire cycle of weather.
Right.
To talk about climate change, and it puts, let's put the question mark, change from, no one's ever been able to answer this question for me. What are we changing it from? What do you want to change it to? If you're using the word change, you're implying that it's gone from something to something else. Well, where's that point? Where is that point that we've changed from? Was it 30 years ago? Was it 60 years ago? Was it 600 years ago? Mm-hmm. Was it 6,000 years ago? This is something that has been running through my mind, and I follow Cranky Weather Guy on Twitter, who I think is such a terrific forecaster. He's very good, and he brought this point up, and it just kind of reminded me in my head that this is something that I've been wrestling with for a long time. You take that, and then you wrap this sort of apocalyptic hysteria that some people certain people have wrapped into it all for their own gains, personal, political, or otherwise, and you just kind of you sit there and you just wonder what are all these people talking about?
Yeah.
I don't know. It just kind of caught my mind here tonight, reading posts and comments with regards to the kind of month that we've had, and how it's really their perceptions are wrong.
Right.
I don't know.
Right. Well,
I'm just putting it out there.
As I said,
you don't have to agree with it. You don't have to like me. Okay.
As I said, all you need is one significant stretch of weather, and that'll color the whole season. And
pretty much.
And everybody who remembers shivering during those final days in January and then on into much of February, forget that much of January and December were very mild. And the weird thing about that is that even though December was a very mild month, one of the mildest in recent years, in the southeastern United States, in the Carolinas, Virginia, even down into Georgia, they had a big snowstorm in mid-December. You tell that to the people who are out in that part of the country. Hey, you have a nice mild winter so far. The nice mild December. How these shoveling snow. It's strange. It really is.
Now, are you ready?
Yes.
Let's play Jeopardy!
Oh, please.
Okay.
You're not going to bring in that guy.
No. I will. Here's the Jeopardy. The category is weather.
Mm-hmm.
The Jeopardy answer is not known for this, but it has happened 3 of the last 4 times in the month of May.
You're not going to allude to snow or any kind of...
in the form of a question.
What is snow?
No, sorry.
No, okay.
But in my game of Jeopardy, you get to try again. Try the opposite side of that.
What is heat or
no,
hot weather?
No.
I'm sorry, Alex.
Okay. Well, we've actually had a tropical storm in 3 out of the last 4 Mays.
I was looking at that earlier today, that blob of clouds, and in fact the Canadian model was kind of trying to make something out
of it. Well,
the
Canadian model will spin the laces on your shoes if you stand still long enough, but go on.
Yeah, that showed some kind of a spiraling effect off the southeast coast in a couple of days, and I'm saying to myself, no.
In fact, even though it's not yet the season, but the Hurricane Center actually is putting out special tropical weather outlooks for this. You can get this, by the way, folks, if you go to nhc.noaa.gov. They're only putting, when you're in the season, they put it out once a day. When they when you're out of the season, when you're in the season, they put it out 4 times a day. When you're out of season, they put it out once a day, and then if they have to, they'll put it out maybe a second time if conditions warrant. So this was as of this morning, and they're discussing 20% chance of development over the next 5 days, which is very low. And then they'll update this tomorrow morning, and by 10 o'clock, they said.
Yeah, okay. Well, and we're 30 days away from the season. The season begins on June the 1st.
And in the Pacific, on the Eastern Pacific side, it begins on June the 15th. So let's. I pulled up the surface map, and of course we've been dealing with these. Warm front, cold front, warm front, cold front. One low goes by, brings the warm front through, the cold front behind it. Then it comes back as a warm front. This has been an ongoing story, and right now, I actually saved this, Joe. This was the map from 5 o'clock this afternoon. It was in the low 80s in western PA, eastern Ohio, in through West Virginia, much of southern half of Virginia. In the low and even middle 80s, and it was mid to upper 80s in the Carolinas. And here we are on the other side of the front with this high off of Cape Cod and this sort of finger poking in with an onshore flow, and we barely got out of the mid 50s, and we're in the upper 40s and low 50s right now.
Mm-hmm.
Ugly,
crazy. But tomorrow, if the warm front manages to get even just to our north, and we get a few breaks of sun tomorrow afternoon, we could see temperatures. Well, in central Jersey, there's a shot of 80 degrees tomorrow. And for the Hudson Valley, some places could get as high as the low and mid 70s.
I think anybody who gets warm sector tomorrow will definitely. That's the rub in all of this. The GFS and what you're seeing here, folks. This is actually the map of high temperatures, of actual temperatures for the map time. So we'll go to Thursday afternoon, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And the GFS model has the 70-degree isotherm into Nassau County and almost to Poughkeepsie. It has the 80-degree isotherm poking into central New Jersey. So these aren't the highs of the day. You might want to add another couple of degrees to these numbers. But it certainly, as you said, it should certainly make upper 70s to near 80 in central and south Jersey, and maybe even in the western counties of New Jersey, going all the way up. 70 to the Hudson Valley, mid-60s to almost to eastern Long Island. But the NAM, which has been pretty decent
right,
in cases like this with these warm fronts, is much less aggressive. And in fact, it's got the 65-degree isotherm in New York City, and so basically it's like 5 to 7 degrees cooler. But more importantly, in Connecticut and eastern Long Island, it's 50s to near 60 all day.
Right.
So that makes a huge difference. The NAM says that the front never gets, the warm front never quite makes it, and the HRRR has the 80. Look how tight those isotherms are along the New Jersey coast. Okay, that is the one that's just offshore is the 55-degree isotherm, and it's got the 60-degree isotherm straddled up the coast of the south shore of Long Island.
I would prefer, and in fact I did that today.
Well, that's 80. Now the 80, this is at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. The 80-degree isotherm is almost in Jersey, all the way up to almost to Route 78. Not quite there, but almost there.
I prefer going with the NAM if for nothing else. I don't like to promise people, hey, it may actually be at 80 degrees tomorrow. I was a little bit more conservative, and I leaned more toward the NAM temperatures than some of the other model temperatures that are really, rocking and socking that thermometer all the way up tomorrow. And whatever we get tomorrow, Joe, it's going to be the one lone mild day, because after tomorrow, that cold front drops back to our south. We go back into that onshore flow, and everybody apparently is going to drop back through the 60s and 50s on Friday.
Right. Now, with this aggressive warming, if the models that are right with the aggressive warming are also being a little more aggressive with the development of some possible thunderstorms tomorrow afternoon into tomorrow evening, I put them in there.
Sure,
I put them in. I just didn't want to risk not putting them in. I thought there would be enough of a warm sector, certainly for Jersey, and it might be an instance too that even in areas where the warm front is quite there. Is it by or is it not by? You've got a little energy that moves on through with this cold front. Maybe you get a thunderstorm that survives and moves into that one zone where things are a bit questionable. And
you might as well throw it in just to cover your you-know-what. Tonight, I even mentioned tonight a chance of a shower or even a thunderstorm with the approach of the warm front. I mentioned a possible shower or storm tomorrow, again, mainly in the afternoon. And, then you mentioned more wetness for Friday.
Right. Well, front goes to the south tomorrow night, tries to come back up as a warm front, and then you have another cold front coming through Friday night. Now, that front stalls, and here comes the next low with some energy moving along the southern part of the jet stream underneath this big blocking pattern that we have. I kind of think that the weekend just doesn't look very good. Maybe dry Saturday morning, but rain coming in Saturday afternoon.
That's funny because I thought that we might have lingering showers Saturday morning, and maybe the rest of the day just maybe like very cloudy.
So in other words, you're thinking that the front that comes through Friday night is a little slower. You get that out of the way, and then we'll have to wait till Saturday night into Sunday morning
for the next round.
For the next one. All right, I mean, it is possible. It's certainly possible that.
But the timing difference, whether it goes your way or my way, this weekend is not going to be a very good one if you're hoping for any amount of sunshine or warm temperatures.
We're probably going to have to wait until Monday of next week before we get
after the weekend.
Monday we may get a whole day where the weather's decent, and this block. If you show you on the upper air, folks, I know the winter weather lovers are like, how come this happens now and it doesn't happen in the wintertime? Well, it's kind of hard to build a big blocking high up in the Arctic regions. Most of the time, it likes to be under the polar vortex up there, and you get strong winds in the upper atmosphere. It's awfully hard to get an upper high to build there during the winter months. It does happen, but it just doesn't happen very often.
Right.
In the spring, it's a lot more likely because the polar vortex is basically breaking down, and the atmosphere is warming at a very uneven rate. Fast warming up in the Arctic regions, and you're getting this, upper high forces the jet to the south.
That is like a 50-50 low over there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so. And even though there's a ridge in the east, the bottom part of the atmosphere is chilly. You've got the East Pacific Oscillation, off the wall negative, which is usually cold for the east, colder than average in the east. And this pattern, by the way, carries through much of next week. It's not until late next week that blocking high starts to break down. So we've got more work to do in this sort of gloom and doom pattern we're in.
Well, the folks at the Climate Prediction Center still have us above normal precipitation-wise right on through the middle part of May, and then they say, well, maybe we'll start drying out, maybe, but I don't know. This is a very persistent pattern, and I hate to think that it might last through much of May. May's supposedly the lovely month with the flowers and everything else.
Vinny Dice Ruggiero, who is now one of my top fans and a great comedian, by the way, he says, nice weather don't start till June. Let's face it, it's New York.
Yeah.
That's correct, Vinny. This is spring. It's a miserable time of year. Every spring is a miserable time of year, and that's all there is to it. Hi, Teresa Leona, my buddy Mike's mom, who I work with from time to time over at PIX. Derek Wood, we are not twins, but we have known each other for 40 years.
Yes.
Believe it or not.
Yes.
We look like twins?
No, it's like Danny DeVito and who's Danny DeVito? Is it George Clooney or was it?
I don't remember.
Whatever.
No, it was Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Or Arnold Schwarzenegger. Yeah, I think that was. It's something along those lines.
What the heck is validity?
Volatility.
Oh, volatility. Okay, so when things swing back and forth in a large way. For example, when the stock market goes down really hard and then bounces back hard. Volatility, okay?
Yes.
As opposed to something that's stable and you get, stays on an even keel. This is much more up and down, and we're talking about wild up and down. That's what volatility is. So when I say that the pattern, we're in a very volatile pattern, basically what I'm saying is that we're seeing a pattern where lots of things are changing, and all those changes are having a change in one spot having a big impact on a change in another. That's actually a good question.
Yeah.
It's a picture that I use to kind of give an idea. Okay, is it going to rain in the Derby on Saturday? Good question, Keith Scally. First of all, there was some late breaking news. Omaha Beach, who was the prohibitive 5-1 favorite, is out. He has some, I think something with his epiglottis got stuck.
Really?
And he is not going to start on Saturday. So that's going to open up a spot for one of the also eligibles.
So, I mean, is it going to be Mutter's Day on Saturday in...
now, hold on. We're going to start to degenerate into an Abbott and Costello routine here.
Yeah.
And they're off. You lose.
His father was a mother.
I know his father was a mother. Sometimes a he can make a better mother than a she.
Right.
That was remember the two horses in the race with the guy who called himself Julius Caesar?
No, I remember
It was Lucky George and Lolly C.
I remember
Lolly C and Lucky George.
There was a bit that they did on the TV show with Hillary Brooke.
Yes.
About Mother's Day.
Mother's Day.
Yeah.
All right, so first off, Friday is the 150 whatever they're up to running of the Kentucky Oaks, which is for 3-year-old little girls.
Okay.
Remember, Lucy said that she wanted to know what the outrage of what is this? How long has this been going on? They're racing little girls in Churchill Downs. Race won by 3-year-old maiden. Looks like a chance for some showers on Friday for the Oaks, and probably a chance for some showers for the Derby. I mean, they both look like there's a risk for rain. So handicap for mud. And handicap for a softer turf. There's a lot of big races going into the Woodford Reserve, which is on the turf on Saturday. You want to handicap for I would think at least for a less than firm turf, maybe good or yielding. That's when you bet the European horses because they run in bogs over there in England and Ireland.
Well, yeah, that's true. They have a very wet or maritime type climate.
Yeah, and whereas here, a lot of racetracks are, as soon as it rains, they are so quick to take races off the turf and move them back onto the dirt. So I actually love watching the horses run on the grass. I can handicap better on the grass than I can on the dirt, but that's me.
Okay.
40 years of degenerate gambler.
I've only been to a racetrack. I went to Belmont maybe about 25 years ago with my wife. We lived in Franklin Square or Levittown, and one day she just said it was a Saturday, and she said, I remember that they were giving away yellow towels, and the towels said, "I won, I won." And she said, "Why don't we go to Belmont Park?" So that was the first and only time that I've ever been to a racetrack.
You know what, Joe? You're up in Putnam Valley. It's a short. It's not a short drive, but you really should go to Saratoga when they go up. It's a whole wonderful day experience up there.
Yeah, well,
so we're going to put that on your list of things to do.
My bucket list.
All right, so we got to go. So he's going to be on at the top of the hour at Fios One News Lower Hudson Valley,
and he's going to be, as I mentioned at the very top of this broadcast, in Long Island and New Jersey on Fios One News. In both of those places.
Right. Brian Fitzgerald on in the morning for Long Island, New Jersey, and Hudson Valley.
And then Brittany Borer and Addison Green for our 3 zones in the midday hours. And then we're back here in the afternoon and evening.
All right. So we'll see you tomorrow, guys. And gals. Have a great night. See you tomorrow.
Or Reservoir.